Hello yet again, folks. This is Pranas, and this time we will try to do the engine failure at V1, the takeoff decision speed, in a Boeing 737. Last time we did it on the Airbus A320, so if you missed that video, go and watch it before this. So, as always, the aircraft is ready for departure. The outside air temperature is 45 degrees Celsius yet again, and our gross weight is almost 54 tons. That is approximately 6 tons below our maximum takeoff weight, but we have a limitation because of the temperature. So what I'm going to do now is release the parking brake, advance the thrust levers to about 50 to 60% and that's the low pressure compressor speed, and the engines are stable. Take off. Airspeed building, thrust set. 80 knots, throttle hold. 100. Engine failure, continue. V1 rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. And I may tell you that a lot of force is required on the pedals. Okay, maintaining the heading. Wings are level. We have some failures, of course, following the engine failure, but we will keep ignoring that. We are currently climbing at a vertical speed of 300 feet per minute and barely keeping our airspeed. I'll try to use some rudder trim so that my feet don't fall off. Alright, we have passed 400 feet and I'll select the heading select mode. We have been airborne for about 1.5 minutes and we are only at 600 feet above ground level. Wow, these temperatures are killing the aircraft. And now we will try to climb to our acceleration altitude, which is 1,700 feet. When we reach that altitude, I will stop the climb and lean the aircraft. This means I will select the flaps to 0 eventually, when we have enough airspeed. Okay, we have passed 1,000 feet above ground, so I will try to engage the autopilot number 1. Autopilot number 1 engaged. Command. And the aircraft is trying to... Okay, the autopilot has disconnected. I will try to fly manually for a few more minutes before re-engaging. I'm reducing the thrust to climb. And at this point, I will stop the climb and try to accelerate the aircraft to green dot speed for flap retraction. Some less rudder movement is required now. The speed is slowly increasing. I'll try to reconnect the autopilot. And Now it should be working just fine. Alright, we have passed the flap retraction speed for flaps 5, so I will reduce the flaps to 1. Flaps 1 green light. And we have passed the safe speed for flap retraction. I will select flaps up. Okay, flaps are up and no lights. So as soon as we reach our green dot speed, which is about 215 knots, we will start climbing to minimum safe altitude again, which is in this case 2,300 feet. Okay, we're basically reaching our green dot speed, which is the safe speed, and pressing level change to climb to 2,300. Now I can start the QRH procedures. I'll take my book, find the engine failure auto shutdown, and follow the checklist. Auto throttle disengage. Thrust lever of the affected engine is closing. Number 2. Engine start lever cut off, and the pack switch for the affected side is going to off. Now, as we have lost one generator, I will select the auxiliary power unit, the jet engine in the back of the aircraft, to provide us with electricity. It should now be starting. Altitude alert, it means that we are reaching the altitude of 2,300 feet, and I will start the turn to the left, heading 070 to come back to London Gatwick for the ILS runway 26 left. In fact, I'll correct it to 080, just to be on the safe side. Continuing with the QRH checklist. Balance fuel as needed. We have no imbalance, so I'll leave this for now. Transponder. I will select it to TA only to avoid any alerts which would be out of the aircraft performance. Anti-ice is not required, and plan to land at the nearest suitable airport. Now I will do the after takeoff procedure. Check the inbound lights are off. Check that the engine start switches for the working engine is continuous. For the shut down engine, it's off. Landing gear going from up to off. Check that the auto brakes are off. And VHF nav switches are both manual, and ILS instrument lighting system frequency is set for ILS runway 26 left at Gatwick. The APU has been started, so I can set the generator for number 2 to on bus. I will reduce the thrust, and actually I can again re-engage the auto thrust. The only thing I need to do is put the dead engine thrust lever to a similar position as the first one. And I can see that the aircraft starts banking. This is because I forgot to trim the aircraft properly and the autopilot can't manage it anymore. This is tough work, may I say. Okay, it seems trimmed again. Almost. And I am re-engaging the autopilot. Working. Now, as I said earlier, I will try to re-engage the auto thrust. It works, and we will be maintaining 230 knots, which is the green dot speed. The only thing, the auto throttle is you can see the white light, auto throttle limited. It basically means that it can do what it could do in the event that all engines would be operating. Simple as that. Now, after we are on downwind for ILS-26 left, I can continue with the QRH, and I will check the one engine in operative landing checklist. Page 7.26, and it says plan a flaps 15 landing. No problem with that. Set V reference 15, so I will go to the flight management computer and put in that we will land with flaps 15, and our reference speed for approach is 146. We will actually use 151. That 5 knots will give us sufficient clearance for any wind, which is basically calm today. Now what it also says is to maintain a V reference plus 5 knots, exactly like it's told. Do not go below it. Use engine anti-ice on the operating engine only, so we don't need any anti-ice because it's pretty hot outside. And checklist is complete except some deferred items. And they are pressurization. I checked the cabin altitude, the landing altitude. They are set. Cabin altitude is currently 60, landing altitude is 200 feet. Recall. I checked what failures do we have. Electrical, of course, because the driver has been disconnected, and air conditioning, because we have lost air conditioning from the engine number 2. I'll try to reset the trip back, and it's all good. Then we have the auto brake. I will not use any, so I'll leave it at off. Landing data. Reference 15 speed is 146, approach speed 151, and minimums are set at 200. Approach briefing, well, I have briefed myself, so it is complete. As you can see, the airport is on our left, so that means that we can already start our descent towards it. I'll only descend to 2,000 feet for now, selecting vertical speed and minus 500 feet per minute. This will do. A bit less trimmer, because less thrust is required as we are descending. And it seems that we are on trim. I can also start reducing our speed. Let's make it something like 200 knots. And earlier I have missed one point for the landing 15 configuration, is that I have to enable the flap inhibit for the ground proximity warning system. I will do it now, and so I will have no warnings for landing with incorrect flaps as it thinks so. Quite hard to keep it on trim, and as we are below the safe speed, or at the safe speed, I will start extracting the flaps to position 1. I'll set my map range to 20 so that I can see the airport center line runway center line more clearly. And for now, I will disconnect the autopilot and fly manually. This is only to be safe and to be sure that what's happening is as correct as I can make it. I'll further reduce the speed and already to 151, which will be our final approach speed. The thrust reduces. I already need more corrections with the trimmers. We'll do flaps 5 and start turning to the left. Heading 290. And we can go gear down, flaps 15. The nose is pitching up because of the flap movement. And I have to apply more corrective actions with the left hand feet, with the pedal. I'll use some more rudder trim. That will do. And actually the aircraft is having a hard job keeping the airspeed. Of course, the best technique here would be to keep flaps as low as possible and gear up until the last moment, but I just wanted to be sure that I don't miss anything. Select the VOR localizer arm so I can catch the localizer, and because of my mistake I will have to start a shallow descent just to keep the airspeed. We have hydraulics, low pressure from the engine to pump, which is absolutely normal because we don't have the right engine. And catching the localizer. Altitude hold. I will arm the approach and set the runway heading if we have to go around. Okay, we are established on the glide path. We'll start the descent towards the runway. When doing so, I can quickly do the landing checklist. Altimeters are set, start switch is continuous enough, recall is checked. Quite hard to do everything by myself. The speed brake is armed and we have a green light. Landing gear is down, auto brakes off, flaps are set, and lights are set. Okay, now I can focus on the landing. Okay, we are at 500 feet above the ground. I'll put the flight directors out and go on manual thrust. This one we don't need.
Minimums.
Landing.
100. 50. 30.
Okay, that was quite a hard one, but we are firmly on the ground. Now starting manual braking and using some idle reverse. That is 80 knots.
60 knots. 50. Reverse out. And 30 knots. And we are stopping at a nice intersection, so we can leave the runway to the right. So, we are firmly on the ground with only one engine working, and I am not lying to you when telling that I am pretty sweaty. But nevertheless, it was great fun, and I believe you had great fun watching too. You can do the comparisons by yourself between the Airbus A320 and the Boeing 737. I can only tell you that I enjoyed both. Along one thingy, I did land with the rounded trim. That's to keep the aircraft more stable if we have to go around. But I believe you know these things by yourself. This was Pranas. See you next time.